Yo, it's time. The game of the year, the game of the life, the game of the decade, or just the most anticipated because we probably made one of the worst decisions of our life. The Dallas Cowboys take on the Green Bay Packers in a Week 4 matchup that is set in stone for cinema. If everyone's going to be hate watching, everyone's going to be watching to see for Cowboy Nation if we're finally going to get our revenge, and if Jerry Jones and the Jones family were on the right side of history. Of course, it's going to be a old, reunion with the ex, the one we let get away, or, some people don't believe that was even good as they thought, but here we are, man. Let's get right into it, the breakdown, and let's start off by respecting this potential NFC juggernaut in the Green Bay Packers. Okay, let's start. Of course, we're gonna start with a history makeup, playoff pedigree. This is a golden franchise like us, is like I like to call them, because they got multiple Super Bowls, 4 Super Bowls, the last one being in 2010 with Aaron Rodgers and former Dallas Cowboy head coach and Mike McCarthy. Constant, and regular playoff contender. This is a franchise that, man, they do a admirable job of finding and transitioning in the QB eras, of transitioning from Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, and now Jordan Love. They are the nemesis, the current nemesis, I would say, of us, the Dallas Cowboys. 9-2 versus us since 2014. Just such heartbreaking losses. Rookie year of Dak and Zeke comes to mind. The heartbreaking loss even before then with the Dez catch. And then in 2023, oh my God. And then speaking of 2023, they won 5 straight at AT&T Stadium versus us since 2013. Head coach Matt LaFleur, just briefly going over, offensive identity, motion, zone run, QB friendly passing, and this roster is now, I believe, is officially built around Jordan Love to aggressively attack and become a contender, a legitimate contender this year. They just have to put it all together as far as execution. Now, as far as their coaching makeup, okay, head coach, offensive coordinator, and defensive coordinator, we know this is very important. This is where the makeup of the team lies. Head coach Matt LaFleur. I very much so respect this man. He's earned my respect ever since, as you know, his previous destinations. He was the OC of the Tennessee Titans in 2018. That was around a time when the Titans had one of the best offenses in the league, a very sneaky offense. And I think they went to the AFC Championship game with Derrick Henry. And that was a year that they had a very good, sneaky, successful year. And of course, that landed him the job of the current head coach of the Green Bay Packers in 2019, okay? He comes from the Shanahan tree, also the McVay tree as well. And this man, it's important to see where they, work up under, because during those times, especially offensive coordinators, they take stuff from it. They take elements from it and form their own offensive scheme. It's actually beautiful to actually study, as a football savant. And I encourage people to think, do that, because we all know these names, Shanahan, McVay, what I'm saying, like, and what they want to do, how they emphasize, wide receiver blocking, spread concepts, but there's still a power element to the game that people really don't realize it. And you see it in their scheme, wide zone scheme, okay, run game heavy motion, heavy play action, and they all want to simplify their QB reads down so they can pretty much have a plug and play QB as long as they follow within that, and wants to stress defenses horizontally, okay, very key, and attack deep. That is very key to what he wants to do. He wants to spread you thin so that everyone has to maintain their gap, and he wants to create some type of accountability in the lanes and responsibilities. Every single inch of the grass, okay, make them cover that. And I think that's a very good scheme to have, in my opinion. Our angle of that, it can get very predictable as far as run pass lists. We need to force Jordan Love into 3rd and longs and make him play late in the down, you know what I'm saying? Harder to do, especially what we've been doing when we're at Eberflus, but we want to talk about it some more. Head coach Stenavich, okay, previous destinations, he was the offensive line coach for the Packers, and he got promoted to the OC in 2022. I love this idea. As you know, our current Cowboys, I just love this when your OC is also your offensive line coach. I think, and your head coach is the play caller. I think that's the perfect match made in heaven, because the head coach can focus on the schematics, and the OC can hone in on, especially normally, the run game concepts, the passing concepts, and handling everything up front, because people underestimate how nothing happens unless the game up front is very much so working and executing to a high level, and he builds O-line cohesion, emphasizes run pass balance. I'm be honest with you, I like some of the picks he made as far as the offensive line goes. I've been a fan of that. Zach Tom previously. I like Anthony Belton coming out of NC State. They still got Jordan Morgan that came from the same drafts as Tyler Guyton. You know, so look, man, he has a type, and I pretty much, like, as far as me scouting some of these guys, I like what he got going, okay? He wants to protect the QB with rhythm throws and multiple tight end looks. Very key. Keep that in mind, because their tight ends are very much so a key, and then rhythm throws, that's a weakness of ours right now with this bend but don't break scheme. I'm telling you right now, everyone, they taking those underneaths and they build up confidence to go deep. DC Jeff Hafley, okay, former Boston College head coach and Ohio State DC, hired as the Packers DC in 2024. His scheme is a 4-2-5 nickel base. Emphasizes a wide 9 edge looks with lots of simulated pressures, rotating zone, man shells, and focus on speed. Nickel base package and wide 9, which means he has a lot of defensive ends that line up wider than what it is to create a natural B gap. You know what I'm saying? So I can only imagine, even though I'm kind of cheating because I watched the film, he runs a lot of simulated pressures, which means he has stunts, delayed blitzes, fire zones, attacking that B gap, attacking and putting stress on the exterior and interior as far as the guard and tackle combo when he wants to in his pressures. He has a lot of times where he's walking multiple people up, and now with the addition, of course, with Micah Parsons, man, they have what he's doing on their defense is really, really deadly, and we're going to really emphasize it this week because they shut teams down, especially with that queen of a chess piece of Micah Parsons. It's going to be even more difficult, man. And the Cowboy angles, aggressive fronts can be gashed in physical downhill runs, and the play action shots can punish the rotating safeties, okay? Oh, also, yeah, I didn't go with the Cowboys angle as far as the OC, but they got multiple offensive linemen out, okay? So that is the coach's angle. As far as the Packers offensive report, okay, Jordan Love at the top because he's a quarterback, gunslinger mentality, thrives on play action. He gets a little erratic in his footwork, and his processing is not up there at elite. That's pretty much what's hindering. I can give my just a brief overview. I got the picture highlighted of Josh Jacobs because I think, man, this man is very underrated and very key to their offense. And he's pretty much, I've never seen a running back completely evolve their archetype after they get into the league. He was more finesse when he came out of Bama, but now he didn't put on weight and still kept up that strength. He's a very much so hard, underrated, short yardage runner, good after the contact. We've been great, good to great versus the run, and I want them to test us with Josh Jacobs. Better than what we were seeing versus the Bears. Okay, I put both tight end Luke Musgrave, but I should have really highlighted Tucker Kraft, who's been a young and evolving tight end who's putting himself up there in a higher tier. Probably their best singular weapon in this entire group, Tucker Kraft, okay? And I'm telling you, he's a key. This tight end group is a key because a lot of our vulnerabilities, unless we actually make a change this week in linebacker and safety, they're going to be able to attack some of our weak points, okay? And then I include the entire wide receiver group: Watson, Dobbs, Reed, Golden, Wicks, Melton, all of them, okay? Because they have a group of receivers that are workhorse, cohesive, they block, they great after the catch, versatile slot guys. They got just a lot of versatility, but just no true alpha. That's been the one thing with this Packers offense that they never truly have, okay? And you know what I'm saying? So we got to make sure we don't have any busted assignments this week, or it's to be reminiscent of 2023 season, okay? And then, of course, the offensive line, Elton Jenkins moved to center, Zach Tom injured, protection issues. Look, if it's any way, I'm praying that our pass rush, and I know up front we're going to be good versus the run, but the pass rush take advantage is this week, man, because they have a lot of injuries. I'm talking about the starting right tackle, the backup right tackle, and I think an interior guy like a left guard is all hurt. So can we please generate some type of pressure? Then we go to the bigger picture, and it's the Packers defensive report. Of course, at the top is Micah Parsons. What can I say? Generational. I will emphasize that we do film here. A chess piece, hybrid, one of the best edge rushers in the entire league. Like, he's a nuclear player. Matter of fact, I'm making a video on it just to stop him because he himself can wreck an entire game, okay? The best way I can say that, he is a sun in the entire solar system, which means he requires gravity, attention, and he his attention opens it up for everyone else. He is a very deadly player, and this is probably going to be our hardest matchup the entire year. There's people who hated on him and won't admit it, but for the entire year, okay, this is going to be the biggest matchup with it. He's going to affect our play calling, our game plan, etc. Our game plan and everything revolves around him. Next, I gave him his praise. I miss you, Micah. Let's move on. Edgerrin Cooper, I love him. He's no longer a rookie, but I love this guy coming out of Texas A&M. He had range, he had blitz. They blitz him a lot. I love his speed, but I think he doesn't move well with his hips side to side. As long as he's misdirection and testing his instincts, we should do that. Xavier McKinney, the former safety from the Giants, okay? Veteran ball hawk, excels in a robber look. Y'all know what robber is? That means there's a safety over the top, free safety who's guarding the deep, and there's a robber who's basically usually in added man coverage. He's the one who's like a added support, whether in the exterior routes or etc. But it's purely an instinctive role, so it's a purely bait role, okay? So he excels in that. We're gonna pay attention to that because that can throw us off, especially with the added pressure we got to deal with. Devonte, Wyatt, who's the D tackle alongside Kenny Clark. Love we got Kenny Clark, but hey, he's solid from University of Georgia, penetrating. I think he's now the 1 tech, but he has a 3 tech body, commands double teams, and and takes advantage of slide protection. I love this kid. I watched his entire journey coming out from high school. I think he went to, was it Mater Dei? I think it was the schools like in North New Jersey, and then when he went to Michigan, I love him, man. He's just a power and technical rusher. And he's benefited, I believe, most of the second most from the Micah Parsons effect, okay? And now he's a legitimate threat. We're going to have to really, really, really watch, because especially if Micah's on the other side. If we have a very pass-heavy scheme, I do worry just a bit versus him and a Terrence Steele. Not gonna lie, even though I don't agree with the critiques with Terrence Steele, I don't understand his weaknesses at the end of the day. Moving on to the keys to victory for the Dallas Cowboys. Of course, it's always play disciplined football, limited penalties, no self-inflicted wounds or mistakes. That is universal every time. Win the trenches. The offensive line must handle. I have Parsons, Gary, and Wyatt, but I really just want him to handle Parsons. That's because we need to handle his gravity, okay? And the D-line must overwhelm the Packers' weakened offensive line. Neutralize Jordan Love. Pressure early and disguise coverages and force mistakes. Limit Josh Jacobs. I want to bait them into running the ball more because they won't be attacking our passing game. Keep him under 3 yards per carry. But I'm telling you, I'm very confident in our run defense because we handle Saquon. And I think the Eagles have a far more dangerous run game than the Packers. Doesn't mean we can't give them respect. I really want them to test our run defense. Exploit their aggressive run defense. Like I said, the defensive coordinator in his tactics, when he was at Ohio State, man, he got gashed a lot. So in running at them, a lot of these teams, the Browns who just beat them, did a lot of runs towards the perimeter at an angle, aiming at their B gap, aiming at their C gap, taking advantage of them getting upfield. So we need to do that, you know what I'm saying? And attack the vacated zones versus half-fleet rotations, okay? Protect Dak, okay, of course, all times. Stay balanced, establish a run game. I think a run game is going to be clear of how we need to attack from here on out, in my opinion. We should have did it last week, but hey, and then use play actions to stress the secondary. If we do all these things, I feel like we can very much so muddy up this game, play the keep away battle with the run game and the time of possession battle. I think this is going to be a game that's going to very much so test our ability to handle complementary football. I think even though people got Eberflus under the hourglass, I got Schottenheimer under the underglass. He went over how he abandoned the run in the press conferences this week. I did not like his answer because I do know, yes, people say that the Bears kept the ball the entire drive, but like he abandoned the runs. Yeah, I don't think people understand it so fast. And I feel like you need to stop having these emotional spurts in your play calling. That's all I'm asking. Lead with the offensive line, what you said and what you were preaching. Take the offensive line into account for every time you call the ball or call a play. Take the defense into account for every time you call a play. The shootout mentality is not very cohesive. That is not very cohesive and complementary to everyone with us. It's saying, hey, you're telling everyone else to catch up. And that's not how football is supposed to be played, especially when you're outgunned and you're outmanned, okay? So in order for us to do that, we're going to have that mentality that we are not going to win this game unless everyone and I do mean everyone, is here and playing well and execute. Thank you, Cowboy Nation. That's been my time. Make sure to like and subscribe to the video. Hype the video, you feel me? Turn on notification bell so you can know when I'm going live. I appreciate y'all, man. Until next time. Peace.